I'll jump into just the Q&A because last year what we did was I asked you a series of questions and I took your answers down. And I wanted to see where you stand 1 year later, having listened to all these great people and see if the answer is consistent. So what I'll do is I'll ask you the same question again and then see your answer, and then I'll tell you what your answer was a year ago. And then I guess after that we can just kind of go back and forth.
Like a game show.
Yeah, let's have some fun here. Okay, so first question is, Kari, can you tell me what your 10-year plan is today?
Okay, we had the opportunity to interview some great people, and one of the things they said is, not to necessarily be your business, but to run your business. If you don't have the time to have free time with your family or take the day off or whatever, you are your business. So what I've come to realize is I'm trying to change the way I am as a business person. And this is a concept that Evan has grasped very easily, but I'm just learning now, which is to be able to find someone with the same skill as I do and who is very talented to be able to take some of the things off of my task list. I think you can see that I'm very, very busy, and it's because I like to be busy and I want to do everything and I want to be involved in everything. But what I'm trying to do right now is take some of those tasks off of my plate, give that to someone else, even though it's going to cost money because it's going to free up my time. I'm going to be a lot more effective in what I do. And I want to spend a lot more time in the community. Being involved in the Women's Fund, even for this short time, I can see how much opportunity it has for growth as a person to learn more about the nonprofit sector. But also to be able to use some of the knowledge and messages that we've gotten from Greater Good. For example, being able to partner private and public partnerships together so that we can take this message further and actually apply it to the community.
Okay. What you said a year ago was that your 10-year plan was to have a family with 3 children and serve the community, for Greater Good Radio to recruit more people, for Bubble Tea Supply to stay and continuing to become a stable company that provides the best product in its field and continuing to earn a stable income so you're comfortable. So obviously you've done a lot of growing this past year. Same question for you, Evan. What's your 10-year plan?
In 10 years, I'm looking at moving into much more commercial real estate as a business, earning income type business, and then for this piece to grow, but I'm not really sure on how it grows because it grows organically. Everything that we plan and so on, some of the things hit in terms of metrics or so on, but it morphs into other things, right? So now I'm looking at maybe doing other book pieces on pretty much the theme of leadership or motivation, and TV and radio and all these other pieces that we have archived as IP. I'm trying to figure out a way how to broadcast that in the mainland and utilize that same content and then generate different revenue streams. So if you take out 10 years out, I think as a deliverable, I would like to be financially independent. You're talking about, I don't know, $10, $20 million or something like that, so that you don't necessarily have to worry about that anymore. At that point, she can have as many kids as she wants, but,
because I would like possible. 7, really. I limited it to 3.
Last year as well.
But there comes a point, there comes a point where you got to figure out how that actually works, right? Mm-hmm. So I probably should be more clear on it. But
well, actually, I'm happy to tell you that
clear on
your plan is pretty much on track. Last year you said you want to be financially independent and give a bright future for your family. It's also nice to hear that.
Short answer?
It was a very short answer last year. It's nice to hear that you have a lot more of a concept behind it now. So I think that really shows growth as well.
See, I know where the end point is. In terms of the 10 years. I know that financially independent part and so on is always there and seems to move along the horizon farther and farther. But the means of getting there may change, right? We do this project, we do this business, it grows. Whatever we focus on really hard seems to work. So that, and you have faith and so on. Okay. But I don't know how the dots are going to connect yet.
Well, next year when we do this show, it'll be a lot longer of an answer as well with more detail.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, no, but
long-winded
that's
answer.
The progress. That's the progress you're making here. Okay. Last year I asked you what were your top values. So, Kari, what are your top values today?
that definitely has to be my family. So my husband, my children, my parents, my in-laws, and my brother with his wife. Family is really what allows us to do what we do. I don't think that we could spend as much time in our work, in our community service, even spending time with the kids. We couldn't do that without our family support and without their encouragement. So that's what I revolve my life around.
Well, last year you said family, so you also added health and opportunity. So that's great. That's great to see it's consistent in that regard. Evan, same question for you. Your top values?
Family, faith, health. Thank you for mentioning that. I almost forgot about that one. Integrity, passion, purpose.
Well,
paddle surfing.
I'm quite amazed because almost down the line, you basically have a check mark next to all of them: faith, family, health, love, money, time, and integrity. So also very consistent in values. That's nice to see. I asked you last year, what is your opinion on young people going into business? Evan, what do you think?
If young people should go into business, I think if they're ready to go into business, they should go into business. But, I had this talk with a friend of mine last night. He's, just 22 years old. And then he's talking about, I'm working in a bank and I want to, thinking about, my options and this and that. I'm thinking, you've only been out of school for like 6 months. I mean, it's the big rush. But then I think about myself and I think, I was in a big rush too. And I look at you and you're in a big rush too. And a number of the people that we talk to. If they're going to go into business, they better be darn ready to work around the clock and bust their butt and figure out how to make it work. Because if they can't, they're probably better off working for someone else, at least for a while. I think you really got to think about that. But if you want to go for it, go for it. And then, you know what? There's only one person that you can really look at as whether you made it or not. It's you.
Same question to you, Kari, and I'll read off your answers afterwards.
I agree with everything that Evan just said. They have to be ready to put in a lot of sweat equity, and they also have to be ready to risk it all. And I'm not saying be irresponsible with their family financially, but being able to risk what they can. And there's a lot of sacrifices with that, and that also includes family, although, I did mention that family is one of my strongest values. But just being able to sacrifice and, risk and take chances, a lot of times people do approach us and say, how do I run a business, or what do I do? Is it my time? It's like, we don't know the answer for you because we're not you. You have to be ready to risk, whatever you put into it. And a lot of people are not necessarily ready to place that risk because they say, but what if this happens, or what if that happens? Then you have to be able to risk it and, come up with plan B, C, F, Z, and just move with it.
I think that last part, risk, that's a really good new thing to include, because risk ultimately at the end of the day is really what it's all about. If you're willing to risk it, then you'll do it. If you're not, then it's all talk and you waste everybody's time. Quite frankly, Evan, last year what you said was young people, it's not a problem for them to go into business. You said go get a mentor. Kari, what you said was you have to be willing to work hard. There are many nights that you just get 1 hour of sleep, and you can't get there without a lot of hard work. So I think the two elements are there, and you added the element of risk, which I think is very, very appropriate.
Let me add 2 things to that then, since I put go get a mentor, unless this is coming up soon. I ask these questions quite a bit on the radio because I want to see what the answers are from the mentors to the mentees. See, people want to say, okay, I want a mentor. I want somebody to spend time with me and show me everything about what's going on. But then they don't look at the flip side of the coin and understand why should the other person spend any time with you whatsoever. I think that when people are looking at things, especially going into business or whatever, they need to really take a look at what do they have to offer as opposed to what can they get out of it. Because at that point, you're going to realize who you can attract and who's going to help you and so on. So, get a mentor, yes. But you need to be the type of person that the mentor is going to want to spend time with. Because if that mentor is any good, they're probably getting hit up by tons of people left and right. And people want their time and energy and knowledge and so on. So why are they going to spend time with you? That's where the community service piece comes in. Because if you're doing things and you're a leader over and above just your business or your money earning or your responsibilities, then it shows that you have some, potential and so on. So that's one thing about it. The other thing is that if the mentor that you're going to tells you to do something, do it. You know, the thing that totally irritates me is that when somebody comes and asks me for something, and we go in, let's say they go, "Oh, I want to meet somebody." So I say, "Okay, well, whatever, we'll make the intro," and then they don't call. That totally pisses me off, and I'm sure that pisses other people off too. So I don't know. Does that sound negative?
Or
No, I
or
think
they
that's
spend, or
great.
if like Evan spends a lot of time, you know, because people always ask for his help, and so he'll say, "Okay, let's work out a plan." So he spends the time to work out on a plan, sometimes 2, 3, maybe even more hours than that, and then they don't even apply it. They don't apply themselves, and they don't do it. So he gets irritated. I get irritated because I could have spent that time with him. Yeah.
So now you're the mentor in that example, right? So what
Right.
happens
So
now
I
when
won't do that to
someone-
my mentor. If I'm going to ask somebody for something, they're going to give me straight up advice. I'm going to do it, and I'm not only going to do it, I'm going to show them that I did it, because then it makes them want to do it some more. See, when you're talking to mentors, especially the ones that are super busy, they want to see results, right? And if they're continually, you know, it's like their business. They do something in their business, it doesn't work, they're going to cut it. If they do that's the same thing as the mentee. You know, they telling them to do something, or they're giving them advice on stuff. The person doesn't do it. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of breath. We can just be friends.
So I
We
guess
don't
the
have to
lesson there is, if
waste
you're a
time.
mentee,
get it together.
You gotta do.
Right, you got to come through.
And if
then
you're not ready to do, don't ask.
Well, also, there's one other thing that's been bugging me lately. So thank you
Go ahead
for
and tell me
Venting.
that, since
thank you for giving me, because I haven't done my journal in a while. So let me just do it on the radio. Okay, so the thing that's been bothering me lately is that some people are good at being friends, but they have no understanding whatsoever of how to utilize relationships properly. Give you a good example. Our sponsor is Central Pacific Bank, or one of them are Central Pacific Bank. I am not going to open an account for this company at another bank. That does not make sense. I don't think the sponsor would be happy. It's incongruent. That's like I'm selling Hondas, but I drive a Ford. Doesn't work, right? So the thing is that people need to understand how to look at relationships as not something so much that you're just going to take from. You got to look at it as stuff that you're going to actually be able to give back and reciprocate, because otherwise the other person is not going to want to deal with you any longer. If you think about who your best friend is typically the one that always backs you up and you can go to for help, not the one that asks you for stuff every other week. So when you think about that, you got to start putting it into action, I think. And a lot of people miss it.
Sounds like your perspective has really changed and become more confident, from last year to this year. A
What
lot
you mean?
more opinion, but solid opinion based on, good fact and good experience. And
Maybe I'm just more
more
outspoken.
vocal.
Well, for Evan, he values relationships, and he's always been pretty much like that since I've known him. But relationships is really key in his life, and that's one of the talents that he brings to the table, is being able to build relationships and keep the relationships, in most cases when he doesn't lose his temper. But, I mean,
Yeah, thanks.
really, he preaches about relationships. One thing that I've noticed, Evan, is that he's very conscious about if somebody's going to give him something, he wants to reciprocate it back. And he wants it always to be a fair deal. He doesn't just ask for favors. He figures out a way that he can also reciprocate a favor. And so the message here is really, when you're going in to ask somebody to do something, whether it's an introduction or help you out with something, figure out a way, even if you can before that or during the meeting, what can you do for them? What can you give to them as well?
I think that's great advice.